Hey everyone, it's TV dinner time. Kick your shoes off, get comfy. Today we're talking about a new show. We're talking about Shogun. We're going to break this into a couple different episodes because there's 10 episodes in the season. So this
Mhm.
first episode that we're recording is episodes 1 through 3. So we'll get into it.
So Shogun, I think we're both super excited for this,
Yeah,
and I think it's like living up to what we believe. I don't know. For me, even Patty was like, she's like, you can't watch it without me. So
the crazy thing, like, there was so much. Like, I had a few friends that were like, it's so good, you have to watch it, you have to watch it. I was like, yeah, I'm going to start it soon. Like, don't worry. uh it it instantly gave me Game of Thrones like vibes though. Like it's
that's
not.
that's sort of what I was gonna ask. Like, what comes to mind
Yeah,
right away?
it's Game of Thrones. Like it's not one of those shows that starts like it starts off with a bang, but it doesn't start off like crazy, but a significant way to start off. And
hmm
it has its ebbs and flows, which is cool because that's not typical for shows.
Yeah, that's true. Or it's like even with the intro, kind of like title sequence with like the boats
Oh, it's
moving
very Game of
through
Thrones.
the
Yeah,
sand. Yeah, it's like you instantly
the
get
Zen
Game of
Garden and
Thrones
everything.
feel for that
Yeah.
and everything. And so and then the music kind of playing through it.
Hmm.
But even with the first one, the first episode, it kind of like for me, I ended the first episode kind of confused. I was like,
Yeah.
where in the Japanese timeline is this? And like, why are there Christians kind of floating
Yeah.
around, Portuguese,
They
and all
kept
this stuff? So
emphasizing that too, and you're like, okay, I get it, but I don't get it.
yeah, but then when you get to the nitty gritty of like Lord Toranaga's like what he's trying to do, it's like he's the one that's moving the little pieces on the
Hmm.
chessboard. And so I think that once you start to wrap your mind around what Lord
The bigger
Toranaga's
picture.
doing,
Yeah.
is like, okay, that's where my mind clicked and
Yeah.
everything. At first, you're kind of, I think at first I came off very confused as to like, who are all these people? There's an English
Yeah.
guy, there's a Portuguese guy,
Yeah.
and then there's Japanese people, and then
Why did they
they
roast this man in a vat? Like, like why did this one Tom Hardy-esque guy? Why does he keep his life? But this one guy got tossed in a vat of hot water. Like, yo, what is going on?
Yeah, I watched the second episode with my brother, and my
Yeah.
brother came over and he was like, man, sometimes like medieval old timey executions were like
Savage.
rough.
Yeah. That shit is savage.
Yeah,
Like,
so there's a guy that gets boiled, and
boiled.
it's not a pretty picture
And you
in
hear
terms
the
of
screams, which makes
yeah.
it we're just like, oh my goodness.
But in terms of like the story and the characters, like what do you take most out of this?
I just like it. Every time I think of the story, I just reminisce about Game of Thrones because there's so many characters, but there's only a few that are really significant to the story.
Mm.
So I'm still, even though we've watched 3 episodes, I'm still trying to hone in on like, okay, who are the key pieces? And it seems like John is definitely a key piece because they're keeping him around and dragging him to all these different places. I'm terrible at remembering the characters' names, but the lady and the character you mentioned earlier, they're
Toranaga.
yeah, Toranaga. They're the main meat of the story, and they have their own quest going on.
Yeah, and to kind of like break down the story is that this is later on. Like there's samurai around. Like
Yeah,
technically, like most of the main people were
are samurai.
samurai,
Hmm.
and they kind of have that. But this is past the time of the samurai, so to speak. And so there's
Yeah,
like
they're more like
five clans,
bodyguards
right?
now. Hmm.
Yeah, they're like they're like now the government and stuff. And so
Yeah,
there's like five clans that like their main leader died, and then he has a son that is gonna
son's too
take
young.
over. But
Hmm.
yeah, he's like what, like 10?
Yeah, it's like
He's
he's
still
not ready yet.
yeah. So they agreed that the five other clan members become like the government. in the meantime until the son becomes old
Of
enough to
age.
take over. And that's where that Game of Thrones kind of thing happens, where it's like now these 5 are kind of like intertwined in this like they're like, okay, like who's behind my back with a knife and stuff, and that's like their biggest thing. They're sending assassins and stuff.
Yeah, there's one scene like I think it's in episode 3 where it's that big fight at night, and they have like an aerial shot, and all you see is like lanterns running through the village.
Right?
That was the craziest, coolest shot in the show so far.
Yeah, and it shows the magnitude of like this, and then it's because they found out that Lord Toranaga, who was a prisoner within that castle, because they were like deciding as to whether or not they were going to kill him, because they believe Toranaga is like building an army, right, to take over the 5 clans as like a singular leader. But so then he like escapes in a very elaborate, because I was like, all right, who knows that he's escaping? Like, what's going on? Like,
he finessed him, man. Finesse.
I think in terms of like a shot that you said you liked, I think the second episode, when they show the woman that's helping translate, kind of showing her kind of life, where she's having like a relationship with her son and everything, like they're talking, they're eating and stuff, or getting ready to eat, and then her husband is like a very kind of like hard-nosed, very like, you don't do anything without me knowing, basically. And there's that scene where there's that shot where it's like it's behind the husband's back, he's eating, and then it's both of them off to the side, the wife and the child, and so it's like it sees that he's kind of like trying to place himself in the middle, but then eventually he gets caught up at the end of episode 3, and he's like, I don't think he's dead. I don't think they killed him. I think he's gonna like.
I don't think they did either.
Yeah, I think he's gonna come into play where it's like she falls in love with John, is what I'm getting.
We already know that.
And then and then she believes her husband's dead, and then
John is gonna console her. Yeah. It's like every other show.
Right. I guess that's predictable. I guess that's fairly predictable. You do need some love affairs. Game of Thrones was popular because it was like nerdy, but then there was a bunch of people naked all the time and stuff. So it's like you got like 2 sides of the coin where everyone just wanted to watch it.
There was a lot of death. You didn't know who was going to survive in that show either.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if they're going to take it that far in this one. I think they're going to keep all the main characters alive. I don't think they'll go full Game of Thrones.
No, I think there's going to be surprises, but not at the magnitude of Game of Thrones. Where, like, if you don't know Game of Thrones, like the first season, Ned Stark is killed at the end of the first season. Murder. Yeah. And which was very shocking because you fall in love with Ned Stark
quickly,
and then it's like, woof, he's gone.
Like, oops.
But then you watch the whole series, and that was like almost like a perfect catalyst for all of it, where it just starts the whole sequences of events that kind of go on for the next few seasons, where I think this one, you're going to see more of like their like Japanese culture kind of showing their end, where it's like they're more stoic and willing to kind of like do like fall on their sword for the greater good and not for just themselves. And so I think you're going to see more examples of that, where in Game of Thrones, everyone was selfish. There's like Littlefinger, there's the Arya doing things for herself. But I think here, you're going to see more of like selfishness or unselfish. Unselfish kind of behaviors, where it's like it's more the greater good of the Japanese kind of like culture and the people and stuff. And then you have the douchebags that want to kill everybody and stuff.
Yeah, I just want to see more fighting. Fighting was cool as hell so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I've always been a person that like loved Japanese culture and stuff, and Japanese like samurai. The whole concept of like there is the concept or the title of shogun and everything. Like I looked up afterwards, like the last shogun in Japan was like in the 1870s or something,
Goodness.
or like so like it was fairly recent that like there was
Yeah.
technically a shogun, and but now there's an emperor and stuff, and then they're more like a figurehead,
Which is
but like
such a dope name compared to like a president. Like,
right.
oh, I have a president. Like, yo, I have an emperor.
Or even
It's
shogun. Like who are you?
yeah.
I'm the shogun
I'm a
of Japan.
shogun. Wait a minute, what? You sound powerful. Wait a minute. But yeah, my dad was in the military, as you know, but others don't. And he lived in Japan. So like growing up, he had all this stuff that he bought and brought home with him. So we had all kinds of like Japanese memorabilia on the walls, and so I was fascinated by that. So yeah, I'm very excited to finish this show.
I looked up how much like a replica like armor set. Steven was like, "Why? Like you're supposed to be looking up something else."
Yeah.
I was like, "I can spend $5,000 on a
Goodness gracious. And put it
but
where?
I don't know, man. In my front door for my enemies to look at.
Nobody can walk in. You're gonna scare the crap out of your dog, man. The dog's not gonna want to go inside.
I think that's like if like you said, like if you enjoy Japanese culture, kind of like the history of them, of the samurai and stuff, this is definitely there's a game that I played recently. It's called Ghost of Tsushima, which is like sort of like in a civil war of the samurai clans during that time, and you play that, and you play against the Mongols and stuff. So that was also enjoyable too. Is like you have that kind of like exposure to that. This kind of puts it in TV form,
Yeah.
and I think everyone can digest this pretty easily. It is based off a book.
Yeah. My a
The
friend of
show
mine
itself.
from college, he said he read the book and then he has been watching the show, and he's like, yo, the show is his opinion, but he was like, yeah, the show is better than the book.
Yeah, I guess it's like it's debate. Like I'm assuming if you like talk about Game of Thrones with some people that read the book and the show, the way it ended the TV show probably like left the sour taste in everyone's mouth. But
Yeah.
there's probably a lot of people that like the show better than the book.
And I think that's with any adaptation, like movie adaptation or show adaptation of a book. Like people, there's always two sides of it. Some people
Yeah,
like the book more, some people like the movie or show more.
if it's done well and stuff, like
True.
I think you can sell a lot of people on that. But I do see myself kind of going and possibly purchasing the book myself with Shogun and just reading it. But I know the guy that wrote Shogun, the book itself, it's based off true events technically, but they're not
Damn.
like technically like this like
Loose
story.
depiction.
Yeah, it's sort of like what happened during that time.
Yeah.
But these are not the true people and stuff. Like he created characters that kind of emulated the people at that time. But I can't imagine. Like, can you imagine this? Like, basically, like Japan's in a kind of like civil
Civil
culture
War. Yeah.
war, and then against the Portuguese, who are just basically just scamming them out of everything.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, hey, we own all of your land. It's like, how do you own our land? What do you mean?
And then you see the power of using religion and converting
Mm-hmm.
people for your benefit, and
Yeah.
which is can be seen as a negative, can be seen as a good thing and stuff, and whether or not what you feel about religion, but you see how the Portuguese used it as a weapon against
Mm-hmm.
the Japanese, basically to take advantage of them, and then the English basically the John
They
guy
were just
just
in the
angered
middle.
that he wasn't there. They
Yeah,
weren't
he was
there in
just
the
in the
first
middle of
place.
it. Yeah. Like, why'd you take me off my boat? Like, I'm
Yeah,
not
right.
a pirate. And it's like, all right, man, come on.
Do you see anything like you don't like about this show?
No, because even the subtitles are bearable. Like, there's a lot of shows and movies that have subtitles, and you're just like, yo, this is too much. It has a nice blend, like similar to Ripley. Like, it had a nice blend of, hey, there's some English speaking, and there's some subtitles.
Yeah, and I think there's an option if you watch it on Hulu. I think there's an option to watch it as like a dub or the way we're watching it, I'm assuming, is like everyone's speaking Japanese or English, and they're
Yeah.
translating the Japanese in subtitles. But I think there's a way to watch it with like an English dub, which I think will take away, because it's like it
Yeah. I'm
seems
good.
like it's almost like watching like Dragon Ball Z like without its like natural language that they like animated it in. But the one thing I don't like, I'm actually really like annoyed by it, is that fish eye lens like camera that they're using. It just like it
Yeah.
looks weird to me, and it distracts me, because like everything else is all blurry, and it looks like your screen is supposed to be curved, but it's not, and everything.
Yeah.
I can see where it could have been a good choice for like some of the sequences, but like you basically have the whole show filmed like that, and
Yeah.
it gets kind of annoying. And that's my only dislike of it, where it's like I know it's probably going to be for the rest of the series, but
Yeah. He's
I
got
don't
to
know
get used
what.
to it now.
Yeah, I'm totally gonna get used to it. But like, you think they were trying to go for that portrait mode that you see in like Fox broadcasts and stuff sometimes, or like you see like everything's all like blurry around them, but like it's like super
Yeah.
sharp in the middle.
Yeah, it's definitely a lens choice. Like they probably wanted it to feel like you're right there with the subject, so everything else is blurred. Yeah, yeah.
Nah, I don't know.
Directors or cinematography choice. It's
I have to
it's
keep
not
thinking about
always
it
great.
when I watch it. Yeah, it's like it's a very nitpicky thing, but yeah, I was like, sometimes it's like you get disoriented when it like the camera moves real quick, especially in the
Yeah,
action sequences. But that's like the only thing I can think of. But I'm excited. I'm excited about what comes next.
yeah. Especially like how 3 ended. Like I'm excited for 4 on.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess
we'll see what
we'll
happens.
see. I would say let's do predictions, but no, I want to see more of this. But all right, cool. So let us know in the comments if you watched episodes 1, 2, and 3 of Shogun. If you watched the whole series, let us know if you liked it. But remember to like and subscribe to Saturday Night Popcorn for more TV dinners like these.